On Asia Down Under today, in celebration of World Refugee Day, a collection of stories about the trials and triumphs of starting life afresh in Aotearoa. Kia ora and welcome to Asia Down Under. New Zealand is one out of 9 countries that accepts a large portion of the world's refugees. Living amongst us are people with their personal stories of war and dangerous escapes. Today we tell their story of then and now, of losing homes and regaining futures.
The fall of Saigon to the Viet Cong in 1975 led to a mass exodus of Vietnamese people from the late 70s to early 80s. Vietnamese migration to New Zealand began in 1977. That year, among the 412 refugees accepted were Chong Du Cheng, a personal assistant, and his wife Jo, a primary school teacher. Before coming here, Chong and Jo had never heard of New Zealand.
While we are in refugee camp, my first country want to go, which is USA, and my second option is Australia, or third option is Canada, and I never heard of New Zealand.
We were wondering, is this a freedom country or still a communism country? That's the first question we asked New Zealand embassy.
The first refugees to come here were welcomed and taken care of by the Inter-Churches Commission on Immigration and Refugee Resettlement. It was formed to look after refugees coming from Vietnam and Cambodia.
And to this Marcellin College, which is going to be your home for the next month.
Alan and Muriel Lipscomb were first-time sponsors, and Chong and Jo were the first family they looked after. They were supposed to help the couple find a place of their own, but instead, the Lipscombs chose to take them in.
Well, I think we had the room and we wanted to help. And it was, the whole thing depends on relationship. That's it. And it was Chong Yu who first made that very clear that he was part of our family.
Yes, when we first moved in, and we had to learn to use the fork and knife, and the food is totally different. I was pregnant then, so it made my appetite quite hard. And then secondly is the language. We finding really hard to let them know how we want and how we want to know things about them and how they want to knowing us. It kind of guessing.
Jo and I, you can imagine us in the kitchen together. We did everything opposite to each other, but it was a learning curve, and it was the love that held us together through times that were not easy.
Through the support of the Lipscombs, Chong and Jo bought their first home, the first step towards independence.
Yes, they allow us to staying with them for free, and all the money my husband earned is we had to put in the bank and do some saving, and they help us with the second mortgage as well as helping us at the normal life.
Chong first worked in a packaging company and then started his own laundry business. He then went into real estate and now co-owns a multi-million-dollar financing firm involved in $1 billion worth of property projects. And they have Alan and Muriel to thank for it.
Their family just like our own family, and it's no different like our own parents. Whatever they are, we always think of them as a part of our family.
Chong showed us an old article about them in the Herald, showing how Vietnamese refugees were doing after their first 10 years. The same article also featured the family of Lac Lee, whose lives have taken a different path in the last 30 years.
I was a journalist for 14 years and a half during the war. I had to leave the country because I didn't see any future for myself and my children.
Lac, his wife, and their 3 children stayed for 1 year in a refugee camp in Thailand before arriving in New Zealand.
The life was not too bad, plenty of food, and I actually quite enjoyed my stay there. I mean, I had lots of spare times, and I had good drinks with the people, and it still lived quite vividly in my memory.
Lac's daughter Ying, a TV director, was just 7 when they left. Her memories are quite different from Lac's.
Lived under plastic sheets, and everything was, we had to make ourselves, and we only had a ration of water each day to drink, and Mum and Dad would have to go sneak extra water just to wash us because they didn't want to wash us in muddy water. I think maybe the most vivid memory is the fact that we lived next to a crematorium, and so like the smell of dead bodies each day being cremated was pretty, it sort of left an imprint in my memory. But aside from that, you know, there were some really good times. I had a friend who I hung out with and swam with a lot. Yeah, there's kind of, because I was so young, all these things that are considered abnormal didn't feel abnormal because I'd never experienced it before.
After settling in, Lac and his wife opened Mekong, the first Vietnamese restaurant in New Zealand.
We decided to give it a try, and I want to offer some new taste experience to people.
The success of Mekong inspired Lac to help establish China Oriental markets in central Auckland. It was the city's first Asian market and provided not just goods, but a venue for cultural performances. Today, his entrepreneurial spirit endures with the award-winning Mekong Cafe at the International Food Court in Ponsonby. Last year, Lac took a break from work and brought his daughter back to Vietnam after 30 long years.
She was very curious, very surprised, you know, and I don't know what her dream, her actual dream of Vietnam, but then I find she really trying to discover her root.
My impression now of Vietnam is a really positive one. It's kind of, I went back and I was expecting to see a lot of tragedies, but people have really moved on and they're really positive and upbeat, and you know, they just really embrace life now despite having less than us.
But for both Lac and Ying, home is now New Zealand.
Don't think I could live in Vietnam, probably because I just spent so much of my life growing up in New Zealand that it's just a different place to me now.
New Zealand is a paradise to me. The people here are very friendly, and it is a relaxed way to live. What else do we want? I really think it is a paradise for us all.